So, you probably didn't even know that you are watching a very, very enthralling football match. And the football match has been going on since May. And the current score of that football match is Cyril Ramaphosa 1, Panyaza Lesufi 3.
And guys, before I let Mike Shem analyze the situation, is there a fight between Panyaza Lesufi and Cyril Ramaphosa? Is there a fight between the ANC in Gauteng and the ANC nationally? I'm asking this because I am starting to think that the ANC is playing good cop, bad cop, and the rest of the country is falling for it. I'm starting to think, and I could be wrong, I could be totally wrong, but I'm starting to believe that these people are playing good cop, bad cop, and the rest of us are falling for it. You remember when the ANC in Gauteng sidelined the DA in Johannesburg? People were confused. People were confused because they saw the ANC sidelining a political party that has helped them to elect a president. People were confused because they saw the ANC sidelining a political party that has helped them to elect the Speaker of the House. Maybe, who knows, if the DA was in the picture, maybe Ramaphosa was not going to be the president of the country. If the DA was not in the picture, maybe Thoko Didiza was not going to be the Speaker of the Parliament. But we know for a fact that all of those were achieved by the ANC because of the help they got from the DA. People saw the ANC and the DA coming together nationally, so they expected the same thing to happen provincially. And in Gauteng, we saw Panyaza Lesufi and his people refusing to work with the DA, because this is what the ANC did. They refused to work with the DA to a point where they refused listening to their own rules. Panyaza Lesufi came on television and said that the deal was that the DA would take 3 MECs, ANC would share 7 MECs with other political parties. But truth of the matter is that the ANC didn't want to share 7 MECs with other political parties, and the DA said, no, it is not fair. It is not fair. We are taking 3 MECs. You guys can take 4 MECs. The 3 other MECs, they can belong to other political parties that are in the government of national unity. And the ANC said no. The ANC said no. They refused. Right now, as we speak, the ANC has 7 MECs, and other political parties are sharing these 3 MECs, giving the impression that the ANC has won the elections in Gauteng. And this is one of the reasons why the DA said, we cannot work with these people, because these people cannot have 7 MECs when they didn't win the elections. The ANC lost the elections in Gauteng. So it doesn't make sense for the ANC to have 7 MECs when they have lost the elections. We can accept a deal if the ANC take 4, we take 3 as the DA, and 3 other MECs, they can belong to other political parties that are in the government of national unity. But no, today, as we speak, the ANC has 7 MECs, other 3 MECs belong to other political parties, Patriotic Alliance, I think Build One South Africa or Action SA, and IFP, I know for a fact. Now, if you look at the MECs in Gauteng, you would actually think that the ANC has won the elections. And the DA said, we are contacting the ANC nationally so that they can intervene, because what Panyaza Lesufi and his people are doing, it is not fair. And the ANC said, no, we are going to send Fikile Mbalula to intervene and to make sure that the DA and the ANC work together. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. The DA ended up pulling out in Johannesburg, and the ANC ended up getting what they want, majority of the MECs, when they didn't win the elections. Right now, the ANC has worked with the EFF and Action SA to get rid of the DA mayor in Tshwane. What was the response that came from the ANC? the ANC nationally, they said, yeah, we welcome the removal of Silas Brink, the DA mayor in Tshwane. So the fact that the ANC in Johannesburg, they can pretend like we don't welcome the results of these negotiations, but in Tshwane, they said, no, we accept the results of it shows you that the ANC was behind, sidelining the DA all the time. The reason why I say the ANC is playing good cop, bad cop, is that they have realized that, okay, if we can pretend to fight with one another, these people will be debating about that fight and the ANC will be emboldened. I mean, right now, look at Johannesburg. You would swear the ANC has won the elections. They have so many MECs. They have a premier now. They have the mayor in Johannesburg. Silas Brink, the DA mayor in Tshwane, has just been ousted. And guess what? The ANC is going to push for their guy to be the one governing Tshwane. So if you were looking from the outside, you can say that, man, the ANC has won the elections in Johannesburg or in Gauteng. And truth of the matter is that the ANC lost the elections. So that's why I'm asking, is there a fight between Cyril Ramaphosa and Panyaza Lesufi, or these people are just giving us the impression that they are fighting while they are achieving their goals? Is there a fight? Are these people really fighting? Because right now, what is happening, we see the ANC being emboldened. Just look at how many ministers the ANC have. If you look at the number of ministers that the ANC has, you would actually think that the ANC has won the elections. But we know, even nationally, the ANC has lost the elections. Look at the MECs in Gauteng. The fact that they even have a premier, you would swear that these people have won the elections, but they have lost the elections. I'm starting to think that the ANC is giving us the impression that it's fighting with each other. But at the end of the day, they are receiving their goals and sidelining the DA. This is one thing that the DA really needs to understand, that the ANC is doing everything in their power to squeeze them out in Gauteng, while giving the people the impression that they are fighting with one another. Is there a fight between President Ramaphosa and Panyaza Lesufi? Or is Panyaza Lesufi working with President Ramaphosa, pretending to fight with each other while making the ANC more strong? The ANC is winning. The ANC is winning at the end of the day. Whether Panyaza Lesufi is the one that scores or whether Cyril Ramaphosa is the one that scores, at the end of the day, the ANC is the one that is winning. So is there a fight between these people? Or these people have sat down and said, no, we are going to pretend to fight with one another while we are making ANC strong? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But this is what I think. I'm thinking these people are working together to give us the impression that they are fighting with one another. But if we really look at the situation, they are making the ANC strong.
So, you probably didn't even know that you are watching a very, very enthralling football match. And the football match has been going on since May. And the current score of that football match is Cyril Ramaphosa 1, Panyaza Lesufi 3. Welcome to the weekly update with me, Mike Sham. Here we are in the State of the Nation, looking at what's made the news in the last week. And this is brought to us by Pace Car Rental, where you can go and rent a car and get a discount because you love the State of the Nation so much. All the details are in the description box below. But let's get to the story. Let's get to that football match. Now, I'm sure you, A, didn't realize that you are watching a football match, and B, I don't know if you know that Panyaza Lesufi is a big football fan. In actual fact, as a government official, he was able to buy a controlling stake in the once famous Morocco Swallows football team. I'm sure that was on his declaration. Those sort of stakes in football teams don't come cheap, but that's not really the point. The point is that we are in the busy experiencing that football match that we didn't even know was going on. And as I said earlier, the score is 3-1 to Panyaza Lesufi.
And if you add the score, it's 4 ANC.
One goal belongs to Cyril Ramaphosa. Let me explain. The big story of the past week has been the removal of the Tshwane Mayor Brink from the Democratic Alliance. And a lot of the media focus has been on Action SA and Herman Mashaba, who seems to justify the action of switching support from the Democratic Alliance to the ANC. His justification is that the Democratic Alliance was dealing with the ANC and he felt terribly betrayed, so he went and dealt with the ANC. Well, I've had Herman Mashaba on the show many times. I've had many people from Action SA on the show many times, and they've always been remarkably available. But this one is not making a lot of logical sense to a lot of people because the idea changes depending on the weather. It's either the DA were about to stab him in the back. The DA had stabbed him in the back when he was mayor of Johannesburg representing the Democratic Alliance. The Democratic Alliance is corrupt. The Democratic Alliance is doing a bad job, or Brink is doing a bad job in the city of Tshwane, even though his deputy mayor comes from Action SA. Enough about it. The point is that Action SA were available. They, in my opinion, are useful idiots in this particular game, and Brink has been removed as mayor.
I mean, like, when it comes to Action SA, I don't know if Herman Mashaba has actually realized or what, but if you go on social media on the page of Action SA, you would see that many Action SA supporters are actually outraged at the actions of Herman Mashaba and the party lately. But it looks like Herman Mashaba is actually happy with the fact that he has been applauded as this brave guy to go against the DA. But truth of the matter is that the people that are clapping for Herman Mashaba, these are people that are not going to vote for Herman Mashaba. EFF is the one now. Now EFF is praising Herman Mashaba. They are worshipping the grounds where Herman Mashaba walks. But truth of the matter is that the EFF supporters will never vote for Action SA. They are just clapping hands for Action SA simply because the Action SA went against the DA. They are not clapping hands for Action SA because Action SA is the political party they want to vote for in the future. But if you read the comments, you would actually get to understand that the people that have voted for Action SA, they are not happy about the position that the Action SA has taken, especially in Tshwane. They are not happy with the fact that Herman Mashaba now he has turned into what he has been against for the longest time. Herman Mashaba now, the same person who said that I will fight for the non-racial South Africa, is now one of the biggest racists. And the EFF is clapping hands for him. ANC is clapping hands for him that, yeah, finally, Herman Mashaba is going against the Democratic Alliance. But the question I have for Herman Mashaba is, are these people going to vote for you? These people that are clapping hands for you, are they going to vote for you? Because if you actually get to understand, the supporters of the Action SA are not happy with the position that the Action SA has taken. Many people said, no, I'm going to terminate my membership with Action SA. Herman Mashaba has become a disappointment. Herman Mashaba now thinks everything is about him. Me. This is what the genuine supporters of Action SA are saying about Herman Mashaba at this point. But it looks like Herman Mashaba is quite happy to get the applauses from ANC and EFF, forgetting that the supporters of these people are never going to vote for Action SA. And I think this is the reason why Mike Shem says that, Herman Mashaba, sorry, but you and your party have become useful idiots. You have been used by the ANC and the EFF to fight with the DA. But these people that have used you to go against the DA will never vote for you. But you know for a fact that a DA supporter can vote for Action SA, but an EFF supporter will never vote for Action SA. An ANC supporter will never vote for Action SA. But it's possible for the DA supporter to vote for Action SA. And now you have destroyed your relationship with the DA to appease the EFF and ANC. It is going to bite you. This is what the people are saying. Herman Mashaba, be careful.
And that is the story, but it's not the story. The real story is the battle for the soul of the ANC. And why I give this a score is that I think that what has happened since the beginning of the year started to set a tone for what has emerged as the main fight that we need to keep an eye on in South Africa, and that is the fight between Cyril Ramaphosa, Panyaza Lesufi. Right? Two human beings with incredible shortcomings on both sides and great talents. Maybe not for governance, but certainly great talents elsewhere. So let's go to round number one, or the first goal. First goal got scored by Cyril Ramaphosa. How did he score the first goal? Well, he managed to lead the ANC to their worst ever electoral performance, where they lost their majority and went down 17%, from 57% in 2019 to 40% in 2024. A truly dismal performance. But instead of losing his job as president, instead of taking the blame for the fall, he negotiates a government of national unity, so he calls it. Actually, we know there's some dispute as to whether it's a government of national unity or coalition with the DA, which allows him to literally dictate terms. Keep the ANC in power, keep the ANC with their levers on the most crucial ministerial portfolios, and most importantly, keep the ANC in full control of the money and of the judiciary. So what has happened? No cuts in government spending, nobody ever getting to face the might of the law for corruption other than people who are already out of the party. So round one to Cyril Ramaphosa for managing to stay in power after he loses power. And he was smiling like a Cheshire cat and really enjoying some really hard-won bargaining. Definitely scored the first goal. But then quite soon after that, within the month, the score gets equalized by Panyaza Lesufi. And how does he do that? Well, he did that in a very, very interesting way. South Africa riding high on the announcement of the government of national unity, a lot of people, a lot of backslapping, a lot of happiness going on, and a lot of deals clearly done in haste. Now, with one of the oddities of our electoral system where we didn't foresee one party not getting a majority, an overall absolute majority, in other words, 50% plus one or more of the vote, we're a little bit weak on our rulings around coalition. So the important bit that our constitution lays out is that the first action needs to be taken pretty quickly, within the 2 weeks of the announcement of the outcome of that particular election. And that is that a premier has to be appointed and a speaker has to be appointed. So in haste, before the rest of the portfolio positions can be negotiated, the DA, as the biggest part of this coalition, they got 20%. In other words, giving the ANC, giving this coalition more than 60% of the vote, agrees to elect President Cyril Ramaphosa as president of the country, Toko Didiza as the speaker in parliament. They also agree to do a similar deal in Gauteng, where Panyaza Lesufi gets voted in by, including DA supporters. Now remember, in Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi did even worse than what the ANC did nationally. And they dropped all the way down to 37%, and the DA has 32%. So in other words, the vote's pretty close. But they elect him as the premier, and the DA's candidate gets elected as deputy speaker in Gauteng. And all of this is pending good and understanding when it comes to the portfolio positions. What does Panyaza Lesufi do? He is now the Premier, and it's the Premier's prerogative to appoint cabinet positions in a provincial legislature. We cover.
So the DA was dealing with these people in such a good faith, forgetting that this is the African National Congress. Forgetting that this is the African National Congress. I can't, like, it's so shocking how many times the DA has been stabbed in the back by the ANC. Shocking. And the DA was just giving these people their votes all over the place, giving them their votes, making them the premiers, making them the presidents. And the same people would come around to stab the DA in the back. Ramaphosa, after he has been elected as the president of the country, he went around and invited 1,000 political parties into the government of national unity. And the reason why he did that was to dilute the DA's power inside the government of national unity. The same DA that has helped the ANC to elect him as the president, Ramaphosa said, no, we are not going to give these people power. I am going to invite million political parties in the government of national unity so that the DA's power could be diluted. I mean, like, you think about what has happened before, just after the elections up until now. I cannot even imagine how many times has the DA been stabbed in the back by the ANC. And right now, I don't want to lie, one of the things I'm expecting the DA to actually pay a bit of revenge, if I'll put it that way. ANC has been stabbing these people time and time again. Just think about it. Ramaphosa nationally diluted the power of the DA inside the GNU by inviting 1,000 political parties. Panyaza Lesufi, who got the votes from the DA again to be the premier of Gauteng, said, no, I'm not going to work with the DA. The same DA that voted for me, the same DA that trusted their votes for me to be the premier of Gauteng, I'm not going to work with these people. So that's why I'm saying, is there really a fight between Panyaza Lesufi and Cyril Ramaphosa? Because if you look at these people and if you look at what these people are doing, they are doing the same thing. Panyaza Lesufi and Cyril Ramaphosa, they are doing the same thing. It's clear right now that their goal is to destroy the DA. Is to destroy that is their goal, is to destroy the DA. So me personally, I don't want to lie, as much as I'm interested to listen to this fight of Panyaza Lesufi and Cyril Ramaphosa, I think I have made my mind. These people are not fighting with each other. They are giving us the impression that they are fighting with each other. But if you look at their actions, you can see that Panyaza Lesufi and Cyril Ramaphosa, they are similar. They are doing the same thing. And what is the common factor about the actions of Panyaza Lesufi and Cyril Ramaphosa? Destroying the DA. That is what is common. If you look at the actions of Cyril and the actions of Panyaza Lesufi, what is common is to destroy the DA.
Covered it quite extensively in this part, on the State of the Nation. He goes against the agreement and basically offers the DA really bad positions, nowhere near the money. He creates three, as I call them, and there's only one word for it, bullshit portfolios.
Yeah.
These are portfolios: Minister of Agriculture in Gauteng, where there is no agriculture; Minister of, they even split a department to give somebody a position. Basically, these are positions where you may cut a ribbon twice a year, but you're not going to have any real power. So needless to say, the DA in Gauteng puts their hands up, they get no positions. Gauteng belongs to the ANC despite only getting 37% of the vote. They have the top 11 leadership positions out of 14 in Gauteng. 1-1 to Panyaza Lesufi. Why do I give him a goal? Well, nationally the deal has been struck, which keeps the ANC in government nationally, but there were other parts of this deal. They managed to keep Mkhonto Wesizwe out of government despite the fact that they got 40% in KZN, so they managed to keep them out of that. They managed to get elected into top positions. So there was a lot riding on this. They do a deal in eThekwini, which stops the ANC from being cut out of the management of Durban altogether. So in other words, this was just the next step that was meant to go. But Panyaza Lesufi wins that, scores the goal, 1-1. The next one was a little bit more controversial, and here I'm taking a bit of a liberty. But as you can see from this picture, Panyaza Lesufi was clearly quite happy with the outcome, and that was the signing into law of the BELA bill, or the BELA Act as it is now. The BELA Act, we covered this as well in the State of the Nation, is our new Basic Education Amendment Act, which basically takes a lot of the management of schools from school governing bodies and gives it to the hands of the premiers of the various provinces. Now, we know a lot about Panyaza Lesufi. We know that he does two things. He has always been the head of education here in Gauteng. He's also been a great race antagonist. If there's a hint of a racial incident, as long as the perpetrator is white, he's there in a second. My Lord, I've never seen anyone who can clear a diary as quickly as he can. So he clearly has an issue here. Now he gets to decide under the BELA Act as to how education is going to be managed. And there's some contentious clause which admittedly have been suspended at the moment. Hard to see them being changed. In essence, the way the law is sitting at the moment, the premier of the province is going to be able to take a school, let's say that school's an Afrikaans school, saying there's real demand for places. We are no longer going to serve the school only in Afrikaans because the Act gives the premier powers to do that. In fact, we're making this formerly Afrikaans school an English school, and because we need schools in this area, we are flooding it with pupils. And you would take a nice suburban Afrikaans school in Gauteng that used to be a very effective school, getting loads of distinctions with 35 students in a class, suddenly having 70 students in a class. And this is going to happen. And one only needs to look at the photo of the signing into law of the BELA bill into law as to who was the happiest there. So quite clearly, a lot of pressure being brought to bear. 2-1 to Panyaza Lesufi. And the third goal...
And again, when it comes to the policies, I mean, like, I cannot stress it enough that it was the same ANC that said, in the government of national unity, not a single political party is going to implement its own policies. But right now, the ANC is implementing its own policies. But they were very clear with other political parties in the government of national unity that you guys are not going to implement your own policies. You are not going to implement your own policies. The policies that are going to be implemented here are the policies of the government of national unity. But the same ANC, they come with the BELA bill, the same BELA bill that the DA hates. The DA has begged the ANC and President Ramaphosa not to sign the bill to an extent where the DA threatened to leave the GNU because Ramaphosa were to sign the BELA bill. But what did the ANC do? The ANC, they didn't listen to their partners. The president of the country, who has been elected by the DA, didn't listen to the same political party that has put him in power. What did he do? He listened to his own ANC and went ahead and signed the BELA bill. Not political parties are not here to implement their own policies, but the ANC is here to implement its own policies. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. So how many of these policies that the ANC is going to sign into law? How many of these policies that the DA hates that the ANC is going to sign into law, and there is nothing that the DA is going to do about it? They threatened to leave the government of national unity if Ramaphosa goes ahead and destroys the education system. They said no, we are getting the hell out of the government of national unity if Ramaphosa does it. But then Ramaphosa signed the bill anyway, and the DA came around and said, nah, we will have to have negotiations with the president. But truth of the matter is that the bill has already been signed. Even those 3 sections that Ramaphosa said, okay, we are going to put it aside. The bill has been signed. The bill has been signed. It has been signed into law. So if you are a supporter of the DA, you are sitting and you are watching the DA being backstabbed time and time again by the ANC. How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? Because I think one of the reasons why people were encouraging the DA to get into the working relationship with the ANC is to make sure that nonsense like these ones, the BELA bills, the NHIs, are never gonna be, are never gonna be prioritized. But truth of the matter is that it looks like the DA does not have the power in the government of national unity. It looks like Ramaphosa is going to do what he wants in the government of national unity, and he has realized that there is not a single political party that is going to stand in his way for him to do what he wants. There is not a single party that is going to object him or get in his way.
Happened this week with the removal of Brink. Now, understand that one of the selling points of the government of national unity was that we were going to have stability. Many of the metros in South Africa are in a diabolical state, and with that has followed terrible instability. 10-party coalitions, one little party getting bought out by the other side, changes the mayor, votes of no confidence every couple of weeks. No city can run like this. Rubbish not collected. In the case of Gauteng, streets exploding, buildings catching alight, water not running through the pipes. It's a disaster. And part of the problem is lack of stability, brought about by changing mayors, whether they are effective or not. Now, by all accounts, Brink was doing a reasonable job in Pretoria, city of Tshwane. He had got an improved audit outcome from the Auditor General just recently, and he gets removed. Now, this isn't a commentary about removing the mayor, but it is a commentary around that stability that we were promised with the government of national unity. But Panyaza Lesufi got it done. 3-1 to Panyaza Lesufi. Why am I giving him these scores? Well, in each case, the national leadership of the ANC, in the sort of guise often of Mr. Fix Nothing, Fikile Mbalula, saying, no, we shouldn't do it, and he does it anyway, and then everybody says we support his action. He's clearly leading the leadership by the nose, and he'll do anything that it takes. Right? In this case, he found Herman Mashaba, who is, honestly, I love Herman to bits, but he's talking like a crazy person. Revenge, people wanted to shoot him in the back. He won't be anybody's garden boy. It's just crazy stuff. His own person was the deputy mayor. But anyway, it worked. Brink is out, and the ANC are the biggest party now in the city of Tshwane, and together with Action SA, they're going to be able to form a city cabinet, appoint a mayor. It's going to be very interesting to see. But what is at play here? What is at play here is the soul of the ANC. This leads up to that leadership void as we head up to the next ANC conference, which happens in 2027. Now remember, it's going to happen in 2027. At that point, the ANC will be a 40% party nationally. That's not going to change because we won't have another election until 2029. But we will have local government election in 2026. And once again, the ANC is going to do terribly. They're going to do terribly in urban areas where these cities just won't do better. They just won't govern better. And who is going to be his biggest challenger? Well, given the fact that Paul Mashatile managed to faint while he was on stage the other day, and he has shown about as much leadership charisma as David Mabuza, into the breach is going to step Panyaza Lesufi. The battle is on for the soul of the ANC, and he is trying to become the next leader. And he's going to ride on a wave of popularity with the populist arm, with the Communist Party behind him. He is going to be the man to beat, because there is no saying who Cyril Ramaphosa would have replacing him. And let's face it, there's a bunch of dullards there. There's nobody there with any charisma, right? The only one with a bit of power, is the Minister of Electricity. He's the only one who seems to have some energy. But they better bring him along soon if he's going to have because the campaigning has already begun. And this is the campaigning of Panyaza Lesufi, saying, you see, I don't need to take any advice from up above. I'm doing what I want. I am a leader. I am the guy to carry this forward. I am the revolutionary. So what does one make of this in terms of the ANC leadership?
And I must say that Mike Sherm is making a fair point. He's making a fair point.
People like Fikile Mbalula and some of the other senior ministers. Well, you can only draw one of two conclusions. Either they support this or they don't support this. Well, you know, when people tell you who they are, you must believe them. And the ANC has always been this kind of party that doesn't want the country to succeed. They don't want our kids to be clever. They don't. There's too much competition. They don't want people to strive for better. They want people to be dependent on government with grants, BEE, everything that's government imposed, right? The ANC will only survive if the dependency remains. They do not want independent people. So there are people within the ANC that are firmly behind this. Just go and listen to any of the speeches that Solly Mapaila has made recently. He is the head of the Communist Party. These are people that want to keep the country unimaginative, low objectives, low ambition. So there's that part of the party that's definitely going to support what Panyaza Lesufi are doing. These are the people that were dead against the government of national unity. And the reason they are dead against it is they're so scared that it would work. The other side of it says, maybe there are people in the ANC that support the government of national unity, but they're just being quite quiet about it. Well, why would anybody in the ANC support the government of national unity? They're being made to look quite stupid because the ministers from all the other parties are doing so much better than their ministers. But they do understand that if they don't have the government of national unity, the rand's going to tank. Our inflation is going to move to the realms of hyperinflation. The economy will cease to be. We will hanker after the days when we only had 50% unemployment. We will become another Zimbabwe, but at least Zimbabweans could come to South Africa. They see this coming, and they don't want it to happen here. On their watch, they will not just see the ANC lose their majority, but they see South Africa heading towards a failed state. Well, I say to those members of the ANC, if you fall into this category of the people that don't like what's going on in Gauteng, then do something about it. Say something. Don't just say nothing, because at the moment there's not one word coming out of senior management within the ANC that condemns this kind of action. So,
which is the reason why
I don't think that this is the end of the world with Cilliers Brink going from the city of Tshwane. I think he was let down by his own party. I've said this to him, where I don't think that they fought for 1 minute hard enough to try and keep him in his position. You've signed a government of national unity agreement. Well, get up your fat behind, and instead of appointing people to work for you that are compromised, rather go and speak to the president and say, what's going on here? Get an answer and be transparent about it. That's what everybody wanted, because you've got to be careful here. Is how long do you think the DA's voters are going to keep on voting for the DA while the DA gets run roughshod over by the ANC? Everything that the DA want, they don't get.
Guys, I want you to listen to that again, because I think this is the same thing that I've said earlier, And I don't know for how long, man. I've said this for the longest time.
You got to be careful here. Is how long do you think the DA's voters are going to keep on voting for the DA while the DA gets run roughshod over by the ANC? Everything that the DA want, they don't get. And is this all just so that you can be called Mr. Minister, get a fat salary, ride blue lights, shake Xi Jinping's hand? Well, it's starting to look like it. It's starting to look like the DA have just become exactly the same as the ANC that they said that they were going to fight against. I'm very concerned, but please see what's happened in the city of Tshwane as an absolute open warfare for the soul of the ANC. Good luck. Enjoy your week. Support Pace Car Rentals. Subscribe to the State of the Nation. We'll see you again next week. Thank you.
I've said it, man. I've said it. Like, the ANC has been in a war with the DA for the longest time. And at some time it felt like the DA was aware that the ANC was fighting them. I mean, like, Helen Zille was out there in the media, and you could tell that Helen Zille could pick up that ANC is fighting with the DA. There is no unity here. There is no working relationship here. These people are fighting with us. You could see that. But right now, I think the DA, like Mike Shem said, they need to get up before they lose the people, because now even their supporters are starting to get frustrated with how the ANC has been treating the DA. They are starting to get frustrated. When it comes to Panyaza Lesufi and Cyril Ramaphosa, whatever the outcome is going to make the ANC even strong. It's going to make the ANC even strong. And guys, please tell me what you think on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part is subscribe. My name is Thomas Maba, so I will see you next time. Bye bye.